So episode 55 of My Hero Academia starts off a bit slower than normal, but it doesn't really change, the outcome of the episode because some people might not have really enjoyed what really happened in the beginning of the first half of the episode. I mean, some people might not, but I really liked it, and I really liked this episode, and it looked good. The music was really good, and just kind of like the message that they kind of have at the end of it kind of reminds me a lot of Naruto, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But they do like their little opening bullshit thing. They have the new opening, and then they go back to what happened was going on last week with Todoroki and those fucking wannabe Leaf Shinobi or whatever. um, but they go back to what was happening with Todoroki. He's still by himself, and he's just going against like those fucking like ninja wannabe motherfuckers who's saying like, oh, he's overconfident because he's by himself, etc., etc. If you didn't see that episode, what are you doing? But so it kind of just like happens the way it does. Todoroki is obviously trying to, you know, beat these guys, but we finally get to see the extent of what all the other ones can do. So like the main one, who's like cloaked in red, his quirk involves throwing like some metal objects, but obviously they're not really made out of metal because Todoroki's like half fire side of his quirk actually couldn't melt them. But basically, what he could do with them is that he can throw them, and he can either make them smaller or larger. And a couple of the other kind of guys who are with him actually show off their quirks as well. A couple of them have like strength enhancement quirks. One of them can shoot out like water, the other one like ground, but that's like physical attack to be able to deal with the ice, and the other one is like water, obviously to deal with his fire. So obviously this is like a good matchup for Todoroki, but Todoroki, of course, as we know, he ends up actually pulling out the win. But the way that he wins is actually really cool, and it was actually really fucking dope because all of them end up getting, covered up in his ice, like their entire body, so that way they couldn't move. And Todoroki eliminates all of them just in one move, which is actually really cool. So of course, like they then explained that if you have already passed and you already like eliminated one person or whatever, you can just go to a specific area and you can like just hang there. And if you failed, it's the same thing. So Todoroki passed, and all of the guys that he fought, they failed, of course, because he hit all their like little like target spots that are on their bodies. So they explained that Todoroki actually heads there, and that one guy, I forget what his name is, but he's the guy who made it like past the graduation or whatever, the entry exams in UA, but he turned it down. It's that guy, and he actually notices Todoroki. He gives him like a hard look, like a look of like, oh, I don't like you, whatever look. It was a different kind of look than what he actually usually gives off, which is obviously different because usually he's kind of just like, because usually he's just like, oh, he's such a, I forget what he's all about sometimes. I don't. He's kind of like a really energetic and kind of excited person. He's all about like that passion or whatever he talks about. But before that actually happens, we meet a couple of the other, obviously students from other schools, and they immediately start going after a couple of the other students from UA, which is Momo, Shoji, Asui, and Jiro. Kyoka, however you want to say her name. They go after, what is it, like the five of them? Four of them? Yeah, like the four of them. I don't know why I can't count. But they start going after four of them, right? Shoji, Momo, Asui, and Kyoka, right? So it's kind of weird because this is when like the episode kind of like starts to slow down a little bit. This is what I was talking about. Like, yeah, the episode kind of slows down a little bit. So basically, the four of them are in a building, and then they end up getting surrounded by a whole bunch of other students from other schools. So they trap them in the building. They completely nullify all of their quirks. They lower the temperature inside of the part of the building they're at because Asui basically has the genetics of a frog. She acts like a frog. So whenever she is in like a cold environment, she starts to go into hibernation, I guess. She starts to basically not be able to like move around as much as she could have. Kyoka actually, loses her ability to use her quirk to its fullest. Shoji, he can't really do anything whatsoever because he has to make sure that Asui is fine. So he can't really do anything. So basically, what it comes around to is that they trap them in this little area in the building, and they're basically just trying to figure out like how to, get them all to a point where they can't really do anything to protect themselves because the area that they're in is really cold, so they're fucking freezing in there. And basically, they're relying on Momo and her not being able to use her quirk anymore. So basically, she has a limitation. Everyone has their limitations to their quirks. Hers is the same thing. If she creates something, too big, or she creates stuff just repeatedly over and over again, it's going to get to a point where she can barely even move anymore. So it continues on after a while. She continues to try to come up with a plan. Eventually, she comes up with a plan to be able to, and she creates an amplifier. Fucking, I can't talk right now. She creates an amplifier, however you want to fucking pronounce it, because I can't speak right now. I'm so fucking irritated. I'm sorry. And Kyoka obviously uses her quirk, her earphone jack, to be able to amplify her heartbeat. And actually, before we actually continue on, the main like person who came up with this plan, her quirk is called IQ. I forgot what her name is, but her quirk is IQ, and it's kind of specific, and I'll explain why it's specific. So basically, her IQ is 150, and just to compare that, Stephen Hawking's IQ was around like 160. So she's about as smart as Stephen Hawking, one of the smartest men in all of the world in history. So her IQ is already 150, and if she closes her eyes, then she immediately becomes like a super genius, like extremely, extremely smart, and she could come up with a strategy like none other. Right? It's really fucking weird, but oddly specifically, depending on the type of brand of tea that she drinks, she'll become even smarter. Which I don't know why it's like that oddly specific, but it is. It's really weird. I don't know why it's that specific, but it is. So the episode hits a half point, and eventually it's gonna get to a point where where Momo has to do something. So she creates the amplifier, and Kyoka actually uses her quirk and basically knocks everybody unconscious. But before she even does that, she creates headphones to block out the ears for all of them, because whatever, right? But before that actually happens, it's kind of weird because she's trying to come up with a plan, and then she finally realizes that she needs to save the three of them, right? And that all like stems up from her being affected from being motivated to do that because of Deku, Midoriya. And it kind of, this is the part where in the episode where it kind of reminded me of Naruto, like I explained at the beginning. I'm pretty sure I did. So I'll get into that a little bit later in the episode again, or a little bit later in the video. So she remembers the moment where Deku's like talking about like, I was in a moment where I could reach but I couldn't save Kachan or whatever, right? So she decides to come up with a plan to be able to knock out everybody in the other room outside of this door whilst trying to save Jiro, Shoji, and Asui, right? So she does that, but she could barely fucking move by the end of it. It's kind of worrisome, kind of, right? So then the main girl, the girl with the IQ quirk, she locks herself back in the same room, like the room like where it's super cold because of the AC. I can't talk right now. What the fuck is wrong with me? I just slapped myself. So she locks the two of them in the room, herself and Momo, and she's about to eliminate her. But they all go back in and bust through the door, and they actually, save her and completely eliminate all of the people that are actually in the room or in the building, with them, right? So they all passed. All four of them actually passed, whilst, the people that they were, up against actually failed. The episode then continues with Bakugo, Kirishima, and Kaminari, and Kirishima actually gets hit by this one guy's quirk, which like weirdly changes him to like some kind of like smush, like clay looking bullshit thing. I don't know how to explain it, but he like fucking turns him into some kind of shit, and it looks weird. And then after that happens, the episode kind of cuts back to Deku with Uraka and Zero. and they're kind of just trying to come up with a plan. And basically, Deku then comes up with a plan that he's going to be a decoy, while the two of them actually, they can deal more and like they can easily deal with people more in a larger crowd and put them in a state where they can't move around too often. Uraraka with her zero gravity quirk, and Seto with him and his like tape coming out of his elbows and shit. I don't know. I forgot the name of the quirk, but by the end of the episode, Aizawa then explains. He starts explaining what I was starting to feel like towards like the later half of the episode. So it was really weird because I was watching the episode, and even then I was noticing this, right? So a lot of the UA students, the classmates of Deku, right? They're all really affected by him himself, by his stride to become the number one hero, and him always being, in the limelight of all the dangerous situations that most pros get into, right? And the same thing with Bakugo. And Aizawa starts to kind of explain that himself, and it almost seemed like he was worried for his students, but just by these two, just their presence of being around there, all the other students' expectations become higher, and they start, trying to become better in turn because of that. It's really weird. I can't talk in this video today. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me, but I was gonna go into more deeper of an explanation, but the episode then basically just ends off with, Deku doing what he was gonna do. They kind of bundle up a whole bunch of people, and they get trapped basically. And then Bakugo is trying to deal with this other motherfucker like by himself, while Kaminari is just kind of there. He doesn't really seem to do anything, but the next episode he might actually do some stuff. Not sure what he's gonna do, but he's gonna do something. So we'll have to see. I apologize for terrible commentary in this video. I literally could not speak today, and I'm voice cracking a lot. I can hear it. Irritates me. So, anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the video here. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like. If you are new to the channel, please consider the subscribe button for more videos just like this. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll try to have better commentary in the next video I make. I'll see you guys later. Have a wonderful day. I'm out. Peace.